Florida has a rich and colorful railroad history. Beginning from the last years of the 19th century, with the predecessors of the FEC, the Seaboard, and Atlantic Coastline, or the square wheel and wooden axle as it was known to former ACL employees. It's September 25th, 2015, and Liz, Michael, and I are visiting the Gold Coast Railroad Museum in sunny Miami, Florida. We were visiting my dad for my birthday, and as a treat, the gang piled into the car for an afternoon of train watching. The museum is located on a former naval air station adjacent to the Miami Zoo, a very popular local tourist attraction, drawing thousands each year. This museum's vast collection features artifacts from America's golden age of railroading, including brass number boards and builder's plates, including one from one of Norfolk Western's famous Y6Bs. There is also a variety of whistles and bells on display. In one former Jim Crow combine sits a display devoted solely to the struggle of the African American railroader. The stories of the noble Pullman porters and their duties aboard crack Florida passenger trains that once rolled over the high iron in the crisp, warm winter sun. Also on display is the presidential car Ferdinand Magellan, which was originally built in 1929 and rebuilt for presidential service in 1942 for President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, and would later be used by Truman, Eisenhower, and finally Ronald Reagan in the 1980s. Museum conductor Ed Ringwald tells us more throughout our tour of this amazing private car.
Staterooms in this car. This is stateroom A, down just like a sleeper car on the train would be. So, this and stateroom C have permanent beds, unlike A and D. A and D have fold-away beds as well as the upper berth. And the stateroom coupled with the bathroom and stateroom C make up the presidential suite. During FDR's funeral train procession from Warm Springs, Georgia up to Hyde Park, New York. If you go up here, this is the presidential bathroom. And just above the bathtub, you'll see one of the two escape hatches in this and wash basin as disguised as a seat. And this room is located halfway between the car's two sets of wheels for the smoothest ride possible. Now the 50-pound wood bunk set up for nighttime, both bunks there, and you have the chair there and the wash basin right over there. A dining room on board the Ferdinand Magellan, and when the White House decommissioned the Ferdinand Magellan, the original china sets didn't remain on board. It's been a goal to refit the dining room with the appropriate china for display. And this is what it looked like when the president and all of his staff was in the...
This museum not only provides a look into the history of trains in Florida, but it's a great place for family parties and photography as we watch this couple recreate a romantic 1940s scene. The highlight of our trip was a ride aboard the Gold Coast Railroad Museum's exhibit train, a 25-minute, 3-mile trip around the old Naval Air Station, behind one of the famous NASA locomotives used regularly at Cape Canaveral. This happy family excitedly enjoyed the views riding in this 1923 Acl Wooden Caboose.
Fireman side is clear. Clear to pull forward to mark at the Southbound Switch. The conductor has to ride what's called fireman's side. That way, the conductor can see if there's any hazards ahead on the train, because the engineer is sitting on the other side, the engineer's side. He can only see that much, and I can see anything that's up ahead from my vantage point. What we're going to do is we're going to take a 25-minute ride. We're going to first go up to the switch there. It's called the Southbound Switch. Then I'm going to get out and flip the switch there, and then we're going to back the train all the way down to the south pad. Then we're going to come back up through the south pad and back through the south pad switch and all the way to our junction with CSX. Once we stop there, then we're going to back up once more, go back to the south pad switch, throw the switch there so we can return to the station. So the trip time is about 25 minutes.
Riding out of the train shed, we see more of the museum's rolling stock, including a rocket booster car, an old seaboard derrick, a C&O heavyweight, some bi-level commuter coaches, and other odds and ends the museum had collected over the years. The one I was most fascinated by was an old RF&P Baldwin slug sitting on a nearby horse track. I didn't even know the RF&P ever had Baldwins, let alone slug sets.
Concrete that you see around you, that used to be part of the Naval Air Station.
While we were all enjoying our train trip, it was still a hot 98 degrees here in South Florida, and Jay especially enjoyed the open caboose door as we began our backing move towards the train shed.
Breeze.
Yeah, tent right here.
Switch is lined for track 1. Points look good.
2 in the yard,
locomotive. It's an Acl locomotive. We use that on our regular runs, but we rotate them out every 2 weeks or so. Look on the right, that is our 1804 locomotive. And that locomotive had a role in a movie there, in Under Siege 2 Dark Territory, starring Steven Seagal. Oh yes. And those are our bi-levels. We use those for not only for Polar Express in December, but for Day Out with Thomas in March. NASA 2 on the pad track. Easy stop, NASA 2.
For a very special treat, the Gold Coast crew invited Michael and I aboard the NASA 2, an SW-1500 switcher built by EMD in 1970 for the Toledo, Peoria, and Western Railway. It was acquired by NASA in 1983 and remained in service on the Cape till its donation here to its new home at the Gold Coast Railroad Museum in March of 2014.
Just to let you know, I have a couple people that are interested in doing the 2 o'clock Magellan tour.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
And an extra one.
As the crew of the NASA 2 heads off with a much less volatile cargo of happy passengers, we leave you here as the gang and I head off for the lions, tigers, and bears of the Miami Zoo. Thank you for watching another video brought to you by Country Railfan Productions. If you enjoyed this video, please take a moment to like and subscribe to our channel, and be sure to like us on Facebook at facebook.com/Country Railfan Productions for more great railroad media such as this. And as always, everyone, happy train watching.